Morning, how are we doing today? I've been watching recently quite a lot of videos on YouTube about the recent release of Snow White, the live action film or whatever it's called. And it's been actually a fascinating journey to just watch what online says about this particular film. Now, I will preface this by saying that I haven't seen it and possibly won't see it. I don't think it's my sort of film, generally speaking, which doesn't mean it hasn't got the right to exist. That just means it's nothing to do with it. And actually, what I'm about to say is nothing really to do with the film itself, which may well not be very good. I don't know. But I've been really quite fascinated about the kind of hatred and comments it's basically somehow managed to gather. Um, and what I found fascinating is that, of course, there's an element of maybe sort of, I don't know, right-wing populism to it or whatever, and anti-woke sentiment and so forth, which is fair enough. But well, not fair enough. It's fair enough that that sort of thing will happen with films that maybe push a certain agenda or push a boundary in some sort of way. We've seen this with other things in the past, like the Last of Us Part Two game and so on. But that's not really the point here. The point is more or less about just the criticism, the nature of criticism overall. And it just made me think about the kind of the way we see the world in many respects. So the criticism is it just felt incredibly personal. Now, I mean, I have a very simple rule for content that I don't particularly like. I basically don't watch it or don't read it or just move away from it. I start to watch a film which I don't like and irritates me in some sort of way, and I just stop it and do something else. I don't particularly feel the need to go online and then spread all this vitriol about how nobody ever should enjoy or see this particular film. And I think the Star Wars prequel said a lot of that as well. But my point here isn't, again, about whether I enjoy the film or not, or whether I think the film is particularly good or not, but it's just the nature of the criticism it attracted. And what I found fascinating was the fact that so much of it was incredibly personal. Now, you could enjoy the leading lady's performance or not, and you could say that it wasn't their best work, and maybe they didn't. Their acting in this particular film wasn't great, and all sorts of other stuff. And that's fair enough. We can enjoy a performance or we cannot. That's not really a problem here. We can enjoy the special effects the film has produced or not. We can talk about how the script is particularly, wooden or whatever. And again, that's a fair criticism in a sense, because what you are doing, if you fancy yourself as a critic online, is you are essentially looking at a product and finding things that you liked or disliked about it. And, I suppose that's the way things work. But a lot of it felt so unbelievably personal. And I think we have to remember when we start criticizing things and we start having a proper go at people, that there are human beings behind all of this. The human beings that have worked hard, and whether you appreciate the product or not, that's neither here nor there. There are people with souls, there are people with feelings behind these films, and I'm not just talking about the leading ladies, but people have actually worked on this project. And I think it doesn't hurt a lot to just show a little bit of consideration for other people's work and efforts, even if you don't like it. You can say you don't like something in a myriad of ways without being incredibly insulting. I mean, I saw a video that said, this film is worse than AIDS. And I think that's extraordinary comment to make. I've seen people really like lay into the color of the main protagonist's skin. Now, I understand that the original was supposed to be skin as white as snow, and some people took umbrage to that, and I get all that. But even so, I think, there's, or their political beliefs or all sorts of other stuff. And I think if you are going to judge a product, and that's perfectly acceptable, but judge the product, not basically launch on a tirade of abuse towards the person producing it. I'm not sure what that achieves, apart from showing you that you're a complete, terribly unpleasant human being, because you're not judging the product. You are just essentially deconstructing a person. And remember that behind every person, there are feelings. People work hard, and if you don't like the end product, that's fine. But attacking people for all sorts of things which may or may not be in their power to change is extraordinary. Attacking Disney as a corporation, maybe it's fair game, because obviously some of the things Disney does we can agree, we don't agree with, and the business practices, again, that's okay, I suppose, if you want to critique that. But just having a go at people in a way which is incredibly insulting and deeply personal, I'm not sure that's a thing to do, or why do we feel the need to do that. And I've pondered as to why we need a film to do that. And because it gives us a sense of full superiority, you know. Us as audiences, or even critics, if you like, you know, we sit in the shadows and we kind of watch out for whoever dares to put their head above the parapet, and we take swipes at them, and we deconstruct them, and and some people will praise something and criticize other things, which I think possibly they're the most reasonable critics because they will look at the product. But most of us sitting in the shadows just love to have a go. As soon as somebody shows an element of success or an element of doing something or just pushing the boundary in some sort of way, even if that boundary is pushed in a particularly misguided and not very clever way, but we just have a go. We just shoot out for them, and we just try to bring them down, because that makes us feel powerful, and it makes us feel that we have a sense of superiority. Now, this is not, incidentally, me defending the Snow White film or Disney or the main protagonist or anybody else. I personally don't particularly care about the film, or Disney for that matter, or indeed don't really know certainly one of the protagonists very well. I'm probably not going to watch it or care too much about it. My point here is, why do we feel the need to really just lay into people and deconstruct them on a personal level and not judge them on their work? Because I think, again, in the shadows, we feel that our life has meaning if we destroy somebody else's. And to quote Batman in the New 52 series, how terrible must your life be that instead of solving your own problems, you're actually trying to kill somebody else? Have a good rest of the week.